Next, then, I'm going to announce and welcome our Minister of Environment from Ontario, the Honourable Dan Newman. As you know, Dan Newman was appointed Minister of the Environment recently and has been working on a wide variety of issues, but we're particularly excited by some of the initiatives that have come forward vis-a-vis air quality. And I'm not going to run through his biography because we really don't quite have time. So I'm going to urge you to visit the websites that are relevant and where full biographical information is available on all these speakers. But so representing the province of Ontario and bringing the perspective of our provincial government to our summit here today, would you please join me in welcoming the Honourable Dan Newman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of the Government of Ontario and the Ministry of Environment. I'd like to begin by expressing my thanks to Mayor Layton and Councillor Jack Layton and the Toronto Environmental Alliance and the Toronto Atmospheric Fund and the many others who have worked hard to organize today's event. And I'm also pleased to see the Federal Ministers Anderson and Collinet here today as well. This summit is about sharing ideas and working together on new approaches to reducing smog. It's an important and timely event, and I very much welcome the opportunity to participate. Several agencies, including my ministry, the Toronto Medical Officer of Health, the Ontario Medical Association, and a number of others, have suggested that air pollution may be linked to as many as 1,800 premature deaths a year in Ontario. In a wealthy, technologically advanced society such as ours, that kind of statistic is unacceptable. It is clear that we have a real fight in our hands to protect air quality, but it is not a battle we can win by fighting each other. To succeed in this struggle, we need allies and effective partners, along with a great deal of mutual support and cooperation. Of course, Ontario's situation is made more difficult because at least half of our air pollution comes from the United States. This means that only part of the problem is under our direct control. But that being said, we need to continue working hard to get our own environmental house in order and continue providing a province-wide effective strategy to reduce harmful emissions here at home. And that will involve all levels of government, industries, groups, and individuals. We also need to continue pressing for significant emission reductions from our U.S. neighbours. On the first point, Ontario is committed to providing leadership and real, tangible environmental improvements by implementing an aggressive provincial air quality strategy. On the second point, we're counting on strong leadership and support from the federal government as we work together to reduce transboundary pollution. Ontario's approach to environmental protection is reflected in our provincial air quality strategy, which begins with aggressive, long-term targets for reducing the harmful emissions that cause smog. The centerpiece of our air strategy is Drive Clean, which is one of the most comprehensive vehicle testing and repair programs in North America. It includes the Smog Patrol, which is the enforcement component of Drive Clean, and this program targets the worst polluting vehicles and gets them fixed or gets them off the road. And it includes the recent moratorium on the sale of Ontario Power Generation's coal-fired generation plants, pending a review to ensure they can be operated in an environmentally sound manner. This will mean that coal-fired plants cannot change ownership until appropriate environmental protection safeguards have been established. In the interim, however, there are many in this room who will be pleased to hear that as of June 1st of this year, Ontario Power Generation is operating the Lennox Generation Station ahead of the Lakeview plant on days when smog alerts are called. This is indeed welcome news. The change in operating regime will reduce emissions of nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide and should help alleviate part of the smog problems we see here in Toronto. As you know, our strategy has strong monitoring and public reporting component. Our air strategy includes new provincial regulations that will require all polluters in all economic sectors to monitor and report their emissions. It will also include a new emissions reduction trading program that will be an important tool for industries to develop flexible and cost-effective solutions to clearing the air. Our strategy also includes increasing measurements of air contaminants by the ministry. Over the past few years, our government has invested $5 million since 1995 to give this province one of the most modern and best-equipped air monitoring networks in the world. Using data from the network, we work with a number of partners, including Environment Canada, local governments, industry, and the media, to alert the public when high smog conditions are expected. This year, my ministry introduced an enhanced smog alert program that provides the public with earlier warning when air quality is expected to be poor. The ministry's enhanced smog alert capability now delivers air quality notices to the public up to 72 hours before a potential smog episode is expected. This year, my ministry also launched a new smog alert response plan. Under this initiative, we're asking our partners in industry and municipalities to register with us the actions they're willing to take during high smog episodes. In return, the ministry will ensure that they are notified well in advance of smog alerts so they can trigger their responses when it will do the most good. As most of you are aware, Ontario's efforts to reduce smog and improve air quality are focused in the Anti-Smog Action Plan, which is also known as ASAP. Now, ASAP is a broad partnership including governments, industrial and commercial associations, private companies, and others. And some of the partners are here in the room today. Now, ASAP features a mix of regulations, policy, and voluntary actions to ensure we have effective ways of reducing smog-related emissions. Under the plan, Ontario is committed to making significant progress in the fight against smog. ASAP's original goal was to reduce oxides of nitrogen and volatile organic compound emissions in Ontario by 45% of 1990 levels by the year 2015. But as many of you are aware, Ontario agreed to move up the target date for achieving these reductions, subject to successful negotiation of similar reductions from the United States. My federal colleague, Minister David Anderson, will be conducting those negotiations, and we're hopeful that he will be able to secure significant reductions from upwind jurisdictions. Over the years, Ontario has been a Canadian leader in the pursuit of national environmental goals. For example, we strongly supported the development of Canada-wide standards for both particulate matter and ozone, which were ratified at the ministers' meeting earlier this month. We recognize that particulate matter and ozone represent serious threats to the environment and to human health. And we believe that achieving the Canada-wide standards for PM 2.5 and ozone will contribute to a significant improvement in Ontario's air quality. Under Ontario's Anti-Smog Action Plan, our government is committed to developing a particulate strategy for Ontario, and we're setting an interim reduction target for emissions contributing to fine particulate matter of at least 10%. ASAP is an aggressive plan involving many partners, and in light of the government's agreement to consider moving up its smog reduction timetable, I have asked our ASAP partners to start exploring ways to achieve further and faster reductions. To undertake that work, we'll need strong action and effective leadership. And today, I'm pleased to announce some of the people who will be leading our smog fighting efforts as members of ASAP's first Executive Committee. Members of the committee are Sheila Bassour, Medical Officer of Health for the City of Toronto, Lois Corbett, Executive Director of the Toronto Environmental Alliance, Pat Crean, Vice President of Marketing for Shell Canada Products Limited, Steen Lal, Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Environment, Elizabeth May, Executive Director of the Sierra Club of Canada, Mark Nante, President of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association, Ken Ogilvie, Executive Director of Pollution Probe, Bob Reid, Chief Executive Officer of Union Gas, Ian Rowe, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Centre for Research in Earth and Space Technology, Brian Stocks, the Air Quality Manager with the Ontario Lung Association, and Peter Victor, Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Studies at York University. In the coming months, as ASAP's momentum continues to grow, it is encouraging to know that the plan's efforts will be guided by these outstanding individuals. They are leaders in their fields and bring with them a wealth of knowledge and experience. As Minister, I'm indeed looking forward to working with members of the Executive Committee as we focus on turning our goals into measurable results. I'm confident that today's summit will be a valuable contribution to the environmental progress that we all want. Smog is one of our most significant environmental health problems. And as I've said, we need strong leadership and many partners to reduce both its causes and effects. In the past, Ontario has devoted considerable resources to becoming a provincial and Canadian leader in environmental protection and in the battle to improve air quality. We've also sought out and found a broad range of strong and resourceful partners to help us achieve our goals. In the future, we plan to continue our approach to environmental protection while seeking to broaden the dialogue on air quality and encouraging our many partners and allies to take effective action. It was only a few years ago when the business of protecting Ontario's environment was widely seen as an exclusive mandate of government organizations like the Ministry of Environment. But today, I think we all recognize that clean air is everyone's business. As a society, Ontario is working hard to make that business successful. And I want to thank everyone who's here today for their participation and contribution to that goal. Thank you.